Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your recap video for Wednesday, March 7th. And this should be a quick video because it is snowing like crazy outside, and I've got to figure out how I'm going to get home. Big snowstorm, and it actually looks like it's delivering so far. It's been on and off snowing, but anyway, that's another situation. All right, so we got another great dip overnight from. Just political headlines. I kind of view this stuff as, for the most part, noise. Whenever we start to sell off like we did last night, I think we came into this morning and we were down 1%. We basically finished flat. I mean, you always go back to that this political headline stuff. It really doesn't affect whether Netflix is selling more subscriptions or whether Amazon or on and on about this. Really is noise for the most part, although it disrupts the markets a little bit. But on the positive side, it really gives people a chance to buy the dip who have been waiting to do so. And that's basically what we saw in the first hour. I mean, it was just massive. It just seems like when there's an opportunity where there's a down day where we come in and we're down 1% on the day, it just really gives traders an opportunity to kind of load up on some names that they've wanted to buy. And really in the first 10 or 15 minutes of the day, you kind of knew what today might end up being like, or at least what people were feeling for, to add risk into the lows and see how it works in the next couple days. But Twitter was one of the first things that caught my eye today. But you could see, I would say all the way down here is probably your first 10-15 minutes of the day. I mean, just all the names that we've seen in common over the last few days: Twitter, Netflix, Facebook, Micron, Applied Materials, Marvell is a new one, but just the semiconductor theme, right, has been just absolutely out of control with the amount of calls that they're buying in this group. Keep in mind, the semiconductors, you would think for all this option activity would be the best performer on the day. They're not. There was a bunch of other sectors that outperformed. Some of the same familiar ones, which is fine, but we'll start with. I guess we'll start with the SMH chart. Before I go into sectors, let's just look at a couple things that happened in the major indices for the day. So first of all, S&P is still. I actually drew these two lines in here because it seems like we're honoring. We're kind of making, for the time being, it seems to be that we're making higher lows, and I don't know if I would say higher highs, but at least higher lows for the time being. We're kind of going alongside this. So I think you want to be aware if we do break this, maybe close below, considering the 100-day moving average, which I don't have on this chart, is basically down here. Maybe watch for this for a little confirmation of a little bit of weakness. And then on the upside, you could basically just use the 50-day moving average, but if you wanted to draw a line in here, you could do it there. What's really exciting is small caps. Small caps are, maybe you could say that trade tariffs, I guess if you want to really put a theme behind it, trade tariffs are not going to affect smaller cap companies that do predominantly the majority of their sales within the U.S. borders. But still, I mean, I really just take it as we were seeing this earlier in the week. And when small caps lead, that's really what I want to see. Usually, it's a warning sign for me when I see small caps lead lower. They're leading higher and now above that 50-day moving average. And out of this, right? I think midday we kind of didn't know how this was going to shape up. It could have been a stall right at here, but we closed. The closing print always the most important. And how exciting is this, right? Small caps leading us higher, up almost 1% on the day. And possibly headed toward this version point of control up here, this purple line. So really, really nice. All right, now I'll go into the semiconductors and some names that have just been absolutely ripping. SMH, right? 52-week high. Beautiful. Within this group, just all kinds of strength. I mean, ON, which we started seeing flying in yesterday. I actually took some more profits. I was talking about that in yesterday's video. Listen, I just think it's smart to do it up here in Micron. It's made a heck of a move since I've gotten in it, and I'm still leaving a small piece on for a runner at this point. But hey, I mean, I got in at 41 bucks. It's up to 53. That's what, over a 20% move in a couple weeks. So really nice. And then it hasn't broken any any of the short-term moving averages, but I generally don't like the gap ups at the end of a move. However, it's holding in here, so I'll leave the last piece on, and we'll see where that runner goes. Intel, a lot of traders in the Tribeca trade room have been loading up on Intel calls, rightly so. They just keep coming in and buying more calls in this name, so really nice. And it's been almost just about every day where we've seen Intel calls out of the last 5 days, so they really like this name. And again, it's not extended. I mean, it's not still not overbought, even though it's on a 52-week high. Really nice in this space. We saw some Marvell calls today, which was kind of a newer name. Notice it has not broken out. Maybe somebody looking for this name to now break out. We saw some Applied Materials calls as well. Those were not swept, so those did not go up super aggressively, but actually this name finished down a little bit. The other name that was hot yesterday was Lam Research, continues to be hot, up another 1.8%. So again, depending if you're just kind of following what the tape has been buying in this space, you probably have done pretty well. I'll just throw in Western Digital and STX while we're in this group. But Western Digital, I put on this trade back in the middle of February. I took this trade off. This is the target that I was looking for all along. So the price is actually a little bit better. But I said when I put this trade on, even when the name was below the 200-day moving average, it's gone from 84 to 95. So I would like to actually leave a runner on here. I did not, but for now I'm out of Western Digital. With this version point of control being taken out finally. This name that's been lingering there for a long time, and this could go. I think if it holds above here, I think it's definitely a name to watch, and maybe I'll structure something different. I was in a July 90-100 call spread. I may restructure this trade because it is just reached a 52-week high. I think today. Didn't close on a 52-week high, but definitely I think a name to watch. I mean, look at this consolidation here. So I love these. I love names that have had an uptrend. It's consolidated for since July. It's so more than well over 6 months. So now that I see it, I kind of want to get back into it. But really a nice trade. And then STX. They've been buying. This one's come up on our radar a couple times now. They went out and they bought STX. January 2020. So somebody's really going out far in STX, and we'll kind of zoom out here if I can. Thinkorswim may not let me do it, but yeah, you could see that this is way below still the 52-week high, or not the 52-week high, but the all-time high of $69. So perhaps that's what somebody is looking at. We saw BABA calls. We played BABA today in the trading room. I think this, has a move to 194.22 to the top of value. So I did take some targets. I'm in some April calls. I took half the position off, and keeping the rest of the position on, looking to see if this thing can get about another $5 higher, about 194, and then who knows, maybe I leave a runner on at that point. But that was a name that we jumped on yesterday in the trading room, and some follow through today. What else? Oh, so I just wanted to talk about a couple, besides option activity, just wanted to talk about a couple other really nice looking charts. So what's really nice is, when I did my research and put out the Tribeca Trade Group newsletter this weekend, I noticed that really it was just kind of tech that was participating. Biotech showed some signs of life on Friday. I think this was Friday, right? Monday. Yes, Friday it bounced really nice on the 50-day moving average. But look at the XBI ETF starting to make some headway here. And I almost put this trade on Friday. I did not, so shame on me for not doing it. But I noticed, and I was in the video, I think on Thursday night. I said, hey, look at this right on the 50-day moving average. And sure enough, that was at $90. It's now at 94. Again, I don't have a position on. You can't be in every single area of the market. But really nice that this is getting close to that 52-week high. Also, look at the regional banks. I was in a small regional bank ETF. I was in a limited risk reversal where I was long calls and short a put spread. 52-week high in this one. So it just jumped out to a 52-week high yesterday, and and 52-week high today. A couple of the other problem areas that I've been watching, the home builders starting to bounce or have bounced a bit off the 200-day moving average. Notice where they stopped. What a coincidence! Right on its 200-day moving average. Also XHB. Also, baby steps. Not really that exciting, but at least it's back above the 50-day. Excuse me, the 200-day moving average. Right, a little bit of progress there. So keep in mind, maybe if this thing moves into value and makes a little bit more progress, maybe worthy of a trade. But I think right now, just watching in the home. This, even though it's called the home builders ETF, it's really the home construction ETF because there's a lot of retail in this particular ETF. And then, of course, your leaders, your FANG stocks. Look at this thing, 52-week high. Notice the volume yesterday. I talked about this on Twitter. Huge buy order yesterday in this thing. $450 million added to this ETF on the breakout. Really, you have to be kidding me, but it is what it is. It was an inflow of $450 million. $470 million. There was one order that made it up, but that wasn't the only, I guess, buyer in the name, but just absolutely unbelievable. Keep in mind, part of this, just full disclosure, it looks like they rotated out of this Sky ETF, which is a cloud computing ETF, even though this is still kind of looks there's a lot of crossover between this ETF, in terms of the components that are in this ETF and that FDN ETF, but they rotated out of this ETF and they rotated into FDN. The internet, again, I call it the my FANG proxy because the FANG names are your biggest names in it. But even better than that is a lot of the application software names. This is the IGV ETF. I love this ETF. It's really there's really isn't a great ETF other than this is the closest to, just to kind of see what's going on with this enterprise software or tech. It is called a tech and software ETF, but it's got a lot of those enterprise software names in it. But look at this, and your FANG stocks are not the big weights in this. So it just kind of gives, just shows you that it's not just all about the FANG stocks. There may be one or two of them in this ETF, but it's a lot more like names like Salesforce and Adobe. Microsoft is in here as well. So 52-week highs. So very strong. So again, not just one or two names in technology. It's the whole damn group. And again, I've been talking about names like NTNX that reported. Look at this thing go. I made a little boo-boo today, and I sold out of my position. I didn't mean to. I meant to just keep a runner. But I've been taking targets on this thing as it moves up. Splunk is another name that's in that IGV ETF. Look at these names. It's just out of control in terms of the momentum that is going on in this place. PayPal also saw a call buyer. I took this trade. I think it's closest to, I really, maybe you should have been a little bit more patient, just waited for the bar to close outside of value, but I think it's close enough. I could use the 50-day moving average here as my stop, or even further 77.44 as a stop if it doesn't go the right way. But I like PayPal here. Again, it has to do a little bit more work, but certainly moving the right direction. Another name that I got long last week is STZ, a little bit different. This is Constellation Brands. Really making some nice headway here in this particular name. So things are really starting to pick up in terms of some areas seeing some nice momentum, and again, different areas of the market. And that's basically it. Like I said, I'm going to try to cut this video a little bit short tonight. There was a few other trades that was really far out of the money EA calls, but still, despite that, I think still looks interesting on this one. I talked about HDP yesterday. That one, kind of an inside day. Twitter. I forgot to mention this one, but more calls in Twitter. Notice it took that purple line out, so maybe a good place to take a little bit of money off the table. Maybe not the whole trade, but these VPOCs are great for taking targets. Notice you don't have one till all the way up here, so we'll keep an eye on this one. Also, Facebook got going a little bit today. Some calls in that one. There was definitely calls in Microsoft as well, a couple different times in Microsoft. I'm still in a Microsoft swing as well. So clearly I've got a decent amount of positions on in this group and taking profits all along the way. All right, so that's it for today's video. Have a great night and see you tomorrow.